What's up, guys? It's three-time NFL Pro Bowler, all-decade return specialist, Josh Cribbs. I want to welcome you to the College Sports Connection podcast, where Double A, Alex, and AJ host the Mid-American Conference Best.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the CSC Podcast, all action, all the time. I'm your host, Alex the Captain. Joining me, as always, it's AJ the Guru.
What's going on, everybody?
AJ, welcome back. If you would have told me that we would have three MAC teams who are 5-1 or 6-1 at the midway point of the season, I don't think I would have believed you. But here we are. Toledo, Miami, and Ohio are 5-1 or 6-1 in Ohio's case on the year, and they're starting to pull away as the best three teams in the conference.
Yeah, they really are. It's interesting. I think, I wouldn't have said three teams. I definitely would have said maybe two, but definitely one. And one of those teams would have been either Toledo or OU. I think you and I were both very high on them early on in the season. But seeing Toledo, Miami of Ohio, and OU both sitting there at 5-1, I'm really surprised that we don't have a MAC team ranked yet. I think there's a good possibility after this weekend there will be one.
Well, what's crazy is we don't even have any MAC teams receiving votes right now. The only one who even did this year so far has been Toledo, and that was preseason receiving votes. I think they officially were ranked 31st in the country. Then they dropped the heartbreaker to Illinois, the 30-28 final, and we have not seen a team crawl back into that receiving vote section yet. I don't know if we'll see it this weekend. All three teams obviously have a chance to go to 6-1, 7-1, but I think next weekend, we'll see something. Toledo travels to Miami in 2 weeks, and then the week after that, Miami actually travels to Ohio. So we've got a lot of opportunities here for teams to really kind of make their case as to why they're one of the best G5s in the country, and a lot of that's going to shake out. Fortunately, we've got some good football on the horizon, but let's jump back into last week. We had a lot of good stuff happening last week. Big shout out to Eastern Michigan again. Always love going up to Ypsilanti, up to the factory, and well, it was homecoming up at the factory, and Eastern Michigan walked away with a 24-10 victory over frankly, let's just say what it is, the hapless Cardinals right now, who have now fallen to 1-5. What are your thoughts on Ball State right now, AJ?
It's not great. It's they don't have the quarterback position solidified. Defensively, they're struggling all over the field. I mean, really, all three aspects of the game are really struggling. They're showing some promise in some plays, but they're just not consistent with it. I mean, 24-10 loss there up in Ypsilanti. Lane Hatcher was 19 of 33 for only 131 yards. And once I'm really surprised too that Marquez Cooper has not been able to get going here. We've seen him in the past at Kent State being all MAC running back, being a stud up there at Kent. He only had 46 yards last week, and on the season, he only has 362 with only one touchdown on 79 carries. I think they need to really dig deep into the playbook and find something to get him the ball. But it also starts up front, the offensive line. They've got to create gaps and lanes for him to run through. Like we said, we're still trying to figure out if Hatcher's a quarterback or Kelly or who. As we get deep into MAC play now that we're officially in conference play, there's going to be a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions to be answered in Muncie, whether it's Coach New or the offensive coordinator position with the Coach Lynch. there's been a lynching that involved in Ball State for ever. It seemed like I went to camp with his dad, Bill, down at IU years ago, and they're a Ball State family, and there's something needs to change here soon.
Well, and I think to your point about Marquez Cooper, currently as it sits, he is the 6th leading rusher in the conference. The number that stands out to me, though, for him is he is the 23rd leading rusher in terms of touchdowns. That's the number that really stands out to me. And I think you're right. There's clearly an issue in Muncie in terms of the quarterback. Caden Simonza, the freshman phenom, has looked good at times, but again, he's a freshman. You've got Kelly, and then you've got Lane Hatcher, who I like Lane Hatcher. He does not look like a guy who has 10,000 passing yards in a college career. He does not look like a guy who's seen a football field before. And, and I know that's very critical, but just I know part of it's the transferring in, learning an offense. Part of it, could be issues with receivers and just not getting in sync. But I've been overall very disappointed in Lane Hatcher and what he's brought to the table this season.
Yeah, I mean, he only 566 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a 43.8 QBR, which is ranked 97th in the country. Yeah, I mean, you go look at his from 2019 to 2022, he threw for 2,900, 2,000, 2,400, 2,600. A lot of touchdowns, but also a lot of interceptions in there as well. It's tough, and it's not going to get any easier for Ball State. I mean, last time Toledo played at Ball State, we were there 2 years ago down in Muncie. So this is going to be an interesting one for Ball State. I mean, you look at the number here for this week. Toledo by 17 points. I mean, with what that should be no problem with the way Ball State's played here lately.
Sure. I mean, we'll get into this week's games here in a moment. But yeah, I think they got to figure it out in Muncie. They got to get something figured out. I think you pull off a win against Toledo. I think a lot of things change. But let's look further, or let's look a little bit closer at last week. We've got our usual helmet sticker for the phenomenal play, or for phenomenal player, rather. Then we've got our play of the week, and then upcoming game of the week. So let's AJ, go ahead and start with your helmet sticker. What player stuck out to you this last week?
Yeah, for me this week it's Matt Selipek out of Miami of Ohio. Statistically, he wasn't through the roof or anything like that, but he had 7 total tackles, 4 solo. But he passed 300 tackles in his career this weekend, which is a huge honor and a huge accomplishment there in Miami of Ohio. Over 300 tackles in his career, and he's a guy who we were high on him early on in the year, but he's a guy I think we'll be seeing on Sundays here the next year or two.
Sure. No, I think that's a great pick. He had an excellent game this week against Bowling Green in that shutout, that 27-0 shutout. Played a big part on the defensive side to help them secure the win, to keep Bowling Green out of the end zone. And it's been really curious, right? Bowling Green lost 2 weeks ago to Ohio at home, 38-7. They now go on the road to Georgia Tech. They dominate Georgia Tech. That game wasn't as close as the score indicated. And then they travel down to, for all intents and purposes, what is deemed to be considered lesser competition in Miami, Ohio. And they get blanked 27-0. So it's really curious when you look at Bowling Green on the season right now in conference play. A Bowling Green team that I actually had like some expectations for. Felt like they were getting a slightly better quarterback than Matt McDonald. Matt McDonald had a great career at Bowling Green, but you've got so many guys who come in, try to do different things. And I've just been disappointed. I've been very disappointed. Connor Bazelak has not looked like the SEC Freshman of the Year he was several years ago. He's had flashes of brilliance. I'll give him that. But I've been overall disappointed with what Bowling Green has done. And then right now they are being outscored in conference play, 65-7. Not going to win a lot of conference games when you're only putting up 7 points every 2 games.
No, not at all.
So yeah, no, I mean, Matt Salopek, to your point, great pick. I mean, he had a lot of great plays this weekend. Looked really, really sharp on defense for Miami against Bowling Green. And I think Miami's really starting to catch their stride. So he's looking excellent. For me, man, this one was a tough one this week. You know, it'd be very easy for me to pick Curtis Rourke. He had 300 yards, 3 touchdowns as my player of the week. It would be very easy for me to pick Antario Brown for what he had 280 yards and 4 scores. Fun fact about his scores, all of them were 45 yards or more.
Right.
And then obviously DeQuan Finn, he looked excellent. You know, he had 140 passing yards, 2 scores, but then he led everybody in that game with 172 yards. Get this, on 13 carries.
Wow.
Do you know what that averages out to be, AJ? That's 13.2 yards a carry.
Yards, yeah. Well, we've talked about it, how important his legs were going to be for Toledo this year.
I think I'm going to go Antario Brown because we finally got to see Antario Brown be Antario Brown. And when you look at his numbers a little bit closer, you know, we talked about DeQuan Finn and, you know, the great game he had on the ground. Antario Brown had 13 carries for 280 yards and 4 scores. He averaged 21.5 yards a carry this weekend. 21.5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
You don't need to have Rocky Lombardi throw the ball much, which, you know, in Rocky's defense looked pretty good. 10 of 15, 191 yards, 2 scores. When Antario Brown can rush for 300 yards or almost 300 yards and pick up 4 touchdowns on the ground, that takes a lot of pressure off the quarterback, makes the offense look a lot better. I was very impressed with Antario Brown this weekend. His longest was a 66-yard run in the second quarter to put Northern Illinois up for good, 14-7. He looked phenomenal. And so he's the one who gets my helmet sticker. You're giving yours to Matt Salopek. Both great choices for this week. Give me your play of the week. What play stood out to you?
Yeah, I'm going back to the OU Kent game with Parker Navarro. He only had 3 carries for 65 yards, but he had a long of 52. If you look at that play, it was an RPO. He pulled it and he ran the left side of the field, and it essentially was untouched. I mean, I don't think even in the line anybody touched him. I just watched the replay a little bit ago just to confirm what I saw, and it was a beautifully designed play by Coach Albion and that offensive staff. But yeah, he was able to pull it, run to the left side, and run for 52 yards, seemingly untouched. Obviously, to keep the blowout what it was at 42-17.
Sure. No, that's fair, man. I mean, you know, you look at the year he's had already. Not a bunch of stuff on the year, but when he gets a chance to make a play, Parker Navarro knows how to play football. And as a kid who's smart, he understands what to do with the ball and understands it well. And he's a big compliment to that Ohio team. And yeah, he made a couple big plays this weekend for them. So, but yeah, that one sticks out the most. That was an impressive play. I thought Kent State was Kent State gave Ohio a game somewhat early. It was a 0-0 game at the end of the first quarter. And really up until about 4 minutes left in the second quarter, it was a 1-score game. So, you know, Kent State, hats off to them for pushing Ohio a little bit. But yeah, no, Parker Navarro, you know, that 52-yard run, huge for the Bobcats. Just an impressive, you know, step, move, and go. You know, it didn't take him much to get in the open field on that. But yeah, he looked really, really, really good. So this one was, again, talking about, a tough week because there were so many great plays. Central Michigan looked not great this week, again, especially against Buffalo. But, and I'll admit this is a little bit of a cop out. Devin Grant, not one but two pick sixes. For me, it was the second one that really stood out. The first one was great. I want to say it was like 30 yards of 30-yard pick six, something like that. And, he made a great move. But it was the one in the third quarter that he had that really kind of blew this thing open. Early in the third quarter, too. I think it was like less than 2 minutes into the third quarter. Almost 60 yards. That, yeah. It was 58 yards, pick six, his second of the day. He was named a National Player of the Week. For me, that 58-yard pick six would have done enough for National Player of the Week. The fact that he had two was just incredible. But that 58-yard pick six, watch that play.
Actually, I actually pulled it up here. It was 13 minutes and 27 seconds into the third quarter, or left in the third quarter. It was 23-7 Buffalo at the time.
Right. So, but when you watch that play, people always talk about defensive backs, cornerbacks are converted wide receivers who couldn't catch. That was very much not the case here.
Not at all. Yeah. I'm watching it again here. Tiptoe down the sidelines. And I love the little celebration with the lineman going into the end zone with the high five. That just kind of puts the icing on the cake there for that one.
Let's look forward to this week. We've got a great slate of games coming up. And it's all conference play. We are finally officially, everybody is playing a MAC game. Everybody's playing a conference opponent. Got a great slate. We've got Kent State at Eastern Michigan. Then we've got Toledo at Ball State, Akron at Central Michigan, Bowling Green at Buffalo, Miami at Western Michigan, Ohio at Northern Illinois. 6 great games. Which one sticks out to you for whatever reason you want it to have stick out to you?
Yeah, the one that's interesting here is OU at Northern Illinois. It's a 5-1 versus 2-4, but somebody knows something that we don't, and the number's only 6.5 in favor of the Bobcats. You kind of look at that one's really surprising because you look from the outside looking in, you think OU's going to beat them by 60. The way OU's been playing. So that one's kind of intriguing. I'm really curious as to what's going on there in that game. But you also look at Buffalo BG. I think that has a potential to be a really interesting one too. You look across the board, the numbers aren't atrocious. Toledo minus 17, EMU versus minus 10, CMU minus 12, Buffalo minus 4.5, Miami of Ohio minus 8, and OU minus 6.5. So some of these bookmakers think this is going to be a really good weekend of MAC football.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting you talk about that Ohio Northern Illinois one. Northern Illinois played Toledo really close a couple weeks ago, a 2-point loss. Then they go to Akron, where it was supposed to be a close game, and they blow Akron out.
Yeah.
So I think, the bookmakers may have shifted that because of that. Now, that being said, Ohio has not won, or Northern Illinois has not won at home this year. Their two wins are on the road. Akron and then at Boston College. So this is a Ohio team that is going to get kind of a down and dejected Northern Illinois team when it comes to defending their home turf. So I do think that the number feels low for that matchup, but I wouldn't be surprised if it came down to who had the ball late. And they're just trying to cut into a deficit, whatever it may be. But that should be a really good game. That's on 4 o'clock over there on ESPNU. For me, the game that really sticks out is probably Miami at Western Michigan. And here's why. Miami has arguably the best team they've had since 2003. The Ben Roethlisberger, final season. They finished 10th in the country that year after their GMAC Bowl victory. This is a Miami
GMAC Bowl, what a throwback.
Right. this is a Miami team who, well, really, frankly, Brett Gabbert was going to leave and then decided, you know what, let's come back, let's try to win a championship, and they're doing their part so far. They're undefeated in conference play. They're 5-1 on the year, with a huge Power 5 win and a rivalry win over Cincinnati. So this game almost feels like a trap game for Miami because Western Michigan's offense starting to look pretty good. Defense is figuring it out, but that offense is starting to look pretty good. Looked really good against Ball State 2 weeks ago. Looked excellent comparatively against Mississippi State last week. I really think that this could be a potential trap game for the Redhawks because what do you think they're going to do? They see the record. They know where Western Michigan's at. They're not playing great football. They don't look bad, but they're not playing great football. Who comes to town in 2 weeks? The Toledo Rockets in their first matchup that they've played in 12 years. Be very easy for Miami to overlook Western. Same for Toledo, right? It'd be very easy for Toledo to look at Ball State, say, "Oh yeah, we're going to win by 1,000." And what's happened in the past, Ball State has pulled that upset.
Sure.
It's not impossible. So those are the two big ones for me. Miami, Western a little bit more so because Western actually looks halfway competent. But watch for that game to be a really critical matchup this week. Just keep your eye on that one. That should be a good game over there at 3:30 on ESPN Plus up at Waldo Stadium in Kalamazoo. I'm really, really excited to see how that one turns out. I am taking a bye week this week. I know that you're not going to cover MAC stuff. You're going to be over at doing some Mountain West stuff.
I'll be
talk about that.
Yeah, I'll be doing some live MAC stuff on Twitter throughout the day. It's a primetime game out here in Colorado Springs on Saturday. But we've got some really cool G5 stuff Saturday. We got a 5-0 Air Force Falcon team taking on a 5-1 Wyoming Cowboys team, which I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And there's a lot of implications on this game too, because these are the two top teams in the Mountain West. Two teams looking for, neither one of them is ranked. If Air Force comes out of this game 6-0, there's a good chance next week they are ranked. And they're also looking for a great bowl bid at the end of the year. But yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. I've done a couple of games with Air Force over the past year or so, and they do a phenomenal job. And a huge thank you to Toby Gearhart, the SID over there, who literally has no reason to give Faith and I the access that he does. But he's been super great to us. And but yeah, we'll be doing some live stuff there. I gotta confirm what time I'll be there and whatnot, but you'll see it all on our social medias and whatnot throughout the day. But yeah, I believe Mountain West football is on their app, correct?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Mountain West does something. Mountain West does stuff a little different. But yeah, to kick off here, my time's gonna be 5:00, so it'll be 7:00 on the East Coast. You guys make sure you guys figure out. It'll be on CBS Sports Network actually, so that's great. You guys make sure you take a look at that. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Faith will be on the sidelines doing pictures. I'll be up in the press box, doing some social media stuff. And let's like I posted on our Twitter and our Facebook earlier. The MAC gets a lot of love in the G5. Let's give the Mountain West some love also because we're all in the same boat and we all love the G5. So let's have some fun with it.
For sure. This week I am taking that'll be fun for you guys for sure. This week I'm taking my bye week. As you guys know, I've been trying to hit up all the MAC stadiums. Well, I decided to take a weekend for myself, and I'm going to New York Comic-Con. Gonna walk around and be my authentic nerd self for a weekend. So, hopefully AJ, and I know he will bring you guys some great coverage. Send you out some score updates from the MAC, things like that should be good. Then the week after, back on the road, back to this time my first trip to Yager Stadium. Got some things in the works for that. Not gonna share them on this week's episode just yet, but got some really cool stuff in the works for that, and I think you guys are gonna be really excited. Some neat stuff to kind of help wrap up the second half of this season. Big shout out to you guys for sticking with us. Season's been crazy so far. Now we've got the last 6 weeks, and it's all MAC play. So from here on out, it's just Maction. Starting October 31st, I believe, is the first midweek slate.
Yes.
So, or no, October 31st no, that's a Tuesday night. Yeah. So, that is the first midweek slate. And then from there on up until December, we've got those midweek games. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Well, cool. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are checking us out on all of our social media accounts. You can follow us over on X at College Sport Pod. You can follow us on Instagram at the CSC Podcast. You can check us out over on Facebook, the CSC Podcast. We're everywhere. If you guys get a chance, please leave a review for us on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe. Please leave a review. That helps us with our algorithms. That helps us to rank higher. That helps us to get you guys more MAC content and to make it more accessible to others who are looking for MAC content. So please do that. Help us out and get us that content. But overall, yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.